Well, Thursday night, Brandon Bernard became the 9th condemned man to die by lethal injection since the Trump administration resumed federal executions this summer in Terre Haute. As Adam Pinsker reports, a 10th man is scheduled to be executed Friday.
Brandon Bernard spent more than half his life on federal death row. Bernard was convicted along with 4 other men of shooting and killing Todd and Stacy Bagley, then lighting their car on fire near Fort Hood, Texas. The Bagleys were youth ministers traveling through Texas when they were carjacked and shot to death by one of Bernard's co-defendants, Christopher Villalva.
The jurors should not have been able to attribute Villalva to Mr. Bernard's activities. Mr. Villalva was the leader.
Angela Moore was the federal government's attorney for the case at the appellate level. She now regrets sending Bernard to death row. She says during the trial, the prosecution suppressed evidence that showed Bernard wasn't at the scene when the Bagleys were shot.
If he lit the car on fire, let's say the court's correct on that, he thought he was destroying evidence. He wasn't killing anyone.
Although Bernard was in on the plan to carjack and rob the Bagleys, Moore says Bernard showed up after Villalva shot and killed the victims. Villalva then ordered Bernard to set the car on fire as the Bagleys were tied up in the trunk of their vehicle on federal property near Fort Hood. A medical examiner said Stacy Bagley was still alive when the car was set on fire. Villalva and Bernard were tried together in the case. Villalva was executed in September, and 2 of the 3 other men sentenced to prison for their role in the crime have been released. Gary McClung is one of several jurors who wishes he hadn't voted to give Bernard a death sentence.
Myself and another juror had some misgivings about the death penalty for Brandon Bernard, and the majority seemed to think that because he was there and things had gone as far as they did, that he would equally deserve the death penalty.
Alfred Bourgeois is also scheduled for execution here at the federal penitentiary. He was convicted in 2004 of murdering his 2.5-year-old daughter on a military base in Corpus Christi, Texas. Prosecutors say that he tortured the child after learning he would have to pay child support to the toddler's mother.
In 2002, the U.S. Supreme Court barred the execution of individuals with intellectual disability. Mr. Bourgeois is intellectually disabled under current standards. And in fact, the district court in Indiana ruled that we had made a strong showing that Mr. Bourgeois is intellectually disabled.
Bourgeois' attorney, Victor Abreu, says his client's IQ was tested twice, and the highest he scored was 75. Experts say 116 is considered an above-average score. Abreu says his client is intellectually disabled and his life should be spared.
As somebody who always struggled with things that we would consider simple things as kids, learning childhood games, managing money as an adult.
3 more executions are scheduled just days before President-elect Joe Biden is to be inaugurated. One of them, Lisa Montgomery, would be the first female federal death row prisoner executed since 1953. If these January executions go forward, more inmates will have been executed under the Trump administration than during the entire time period since the Great Depression. Death penalty advocates say many of these death row cases were resolved in the courts years ago, but previous administrations just failed to carry out the death sentences. Legal director of the Criminal Justice Legal Foundation, Kent Scheidegger, says if lawmakers have a problem with the federal death penalty, they can eliminate it.
It would only be wiped off the books if Congress repealed the law. As long as it is on the books, these cases should be pursued to their conclusion.
As a candidate, President-elect Biden said he would support abolishing capital punishment at the federal level. For Indiana Newsdesk, I'm Adam Pinsker.